In today's class, we are going to talk about goal writing. Every child with disabilities who is in some kind of organized program should have a plan, an individualized plan with goals for the child, and you will see in our current way of thinking also goals for the family. Today we are going to cover the International Classification of Functioning, participation-based goals for children, and family goals. What we're avoiding in the 21st century, and especially using the routines-based model, which is the model that I developed, is some practices that have not been working well. First, defining children by their impairment. For example, the child has an intellectual disability, therefore he needs fill in the blank, as though knowing what the child's diagnosis was indicated what the child actually needs. A second thing that we're trying to avoid is non-functional goals. For example, the child will make the final S sound on 7 of 8 trials. This goal is non-functional because making final S sounds out of context means nothing. So we could have a child just working on saying desks without any kind of context. And also, in this example, the measurement 7 out of 8 trials leads to an assumption that we're going to give the child 8 trials all in a row, which of course is not how children communicate, and saying final S sounds is a communication goal. Third thing that we are trying to avoid is no home context, as though the only important part of a child's life is when the child is at school. And so the problem there is reflected by having no family goals. And in fact, in the United States, for example, for children ages 3 to 21 who have individualized education programs, we do not have family goals at all, as though the children had no parents, as though the 3 to 5-year-olds especially had no needs for home routines or for their caregivers. So this is not a problem that it just exists in Europe and other places. It also exists in the United States, and we're desperately trying to advocate for change in this area. The International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health is shortened often to ICF. The ICF is a framework for thinking about first the health conditions of the child, or person actually, but we're talking specifically about children here. So this would be the disorder or disease of the child. You might think about it as the impairment or the disability of the child. This interacts with what activities the child is involved in, and or has opportunities to be involved in. And the extent to which the child participates in those activities is more important than just what the child's disability is. Now, the child's disorder or disease, as it's known in the ICF, is related to the impairment, which is the body functions and structure. So how intact are the child's brain functioning and body functioning? And how do those things affect the child's ability to engage in activities? And of course, the ability to engage in activities doesn't just reside within the child. Also, the environmental factors play an important role. How much does the society, the community, the neighborhood, the family provide opportunities for the child to participate in activities? And there are personal factors. Is the child even interested in various activities? There may be some activities the child is interested in and some the child is not interested in. This is the most common framework that's usually used to describe the ICF. Here we have a slide with a little more examples. The ICF is a classification scheme, so there are various codes involved. And so let's say that this is a child whose the code for this child is the code, it's called Q90, it's the code for Down syndrome. And the specific activity that is problematic for this child is in eating. And the issue is that the child is unable to chew. So we see that the body structure for this child is that the child has underdeveloped maxilla, has malocclusion, hypertonic tongue, and all of those come under the code for structure of mouth. Another code under the body function is chewing, and another one is manipulating food in mouth. And these are coded because the child has impaired mastication, that is chewing. If we go over to participation, in socializing, there's a code for socializing, and the child is unable to eat at the canteen, that is like the dining area, and that is because the child is unable to chew. Some environmental factors are coded that the child, there are individual attitudes of personal care providers, that has a code, and that is because the canteen staff are unhelpful. There is no code in ICF for this personal factor, which is that the child is sensitive to unkind remarks. So you see, when you look at the problem of this child's inability to chew, that we are able to look not just at the child's impairment, which is over here, but also at issues about participation and therefore the child's quality of life, as well as the environmental and personal factors that have an impact on the child's eating and participating at meal times. I want to give you now some example participation-based outcomes. This is a method of writing outcomes that we have adapted from work that an occupational therapy expert, Philippa Campbell, developed. We have added our measurement criteria onto some examples that she, onto a method of writing goals that she pioneered. The goal is Priya will participate in circle, centers, and snack by staying in place. That's the goal statement. So her problem is that she would not stay in place, and this came up when discussing her engagement in circle time, centers time, and snack time. So all participation-based goals, outcomes is the same as goals in this instance, all child goals begin with the child's name, will participate in, and then the routines in question, and then the skill. The measurement is we will know she can do this when she stays with one activity for 5 minutes. So that's a duration criterion. During circle, one center, and snack, that's the generalization criterion, in one day for 5 consecutive days, and that's called the maintenance criterion. Here's another one. Quentin will participate in dinner preparation, free play at school, and playtime at home by playing with a toy, but no screen. So his problem was that he did not play with toys, and this came up in discussing dinner preparation time, free play at school time, and playtime at home. So to find out whether we have achieved this goal, whether he has achieved this goal, we will know he can do this when he plays with one or more toys with no help after being told to play for 10 minutes during dinner prep, for 10 minutes. So it's again a duration acquisition criterion. So there are 3 types of criteria: acquisition criterion, generalization criterion, and maintenance criterion. So in this case, it's 10 minutes during dinner prep, 1 free play time at school, or 1 playtime at home. So it says or, so it's only one of these in one day for 3 consecutive days. Some more examples. Rose will participate in car ride home, circle time, and centers time by using 2-word combinations. So the problem was that she is not yet using 2-word combinations. And this came up when discussing her car ride home, circle time, and centers time. We will know she uses 3 true 2-word combinations during each of these 3 times of day. So we have to see it at 1, 2, 3 times during the day on 5 consecutive days. So here the acquisition criterion is called frequency. It's the number of 2-word combinations, not duration, number. Here we have a mobility goal. Sam will participate in going to school, going to the bathroom at school, and outside play by walking with his walker. So the problem was he was not walking with his walker. And this came up during going to school time, going to the bathroom time, and outside play time. We will know he can do this when he walks 10, let's call it meters for the sake of Polish cultural sensitivity, with his walker twice a day on 3 of 5 days. So you notice that all of these examples begin with the child's name will participate in. That's why they're called participation-based goals. And the reason is because participation has become really the defining variable to do with how disabled a child is. If a child has an impairment but can still participate in homeschool and community routines, the child is really not that handicapped. But if the child has even a mild impairment, and that is causing, or one of the contributing factors, the body structure factor, to the child's impaired participation, then we can understand that the child really is handicapped in terms of his functioning in everyday routines. So there are 7 steps for writing functional outcomes. The first, you can't just take a non-functional outcome and turn it into a functional outcome. It's not about rewriting goals, because it all has to do with whether the goal was actually necessary or not to start with, because rewriting a goal will just produce a well-written non-functional goal. So step 1 is to read the shorthand version of the goal from a family-centered functional needs assessment such as the RBI. And so that might have been, the parent might have chosen, I want my child to use words or signs to communicate. Find out what routines this affects. In the RBI we would know because we went through the routines, and this was meals, play, dinner preparation, and outside in our example. Our example is about Emma. So then we write, child will participate in the routines in question. So we have Emma will participate in meals, playtime, dinner preparation, and outside. And then we write by blanking, addressing the specific behaviors. So remember what the specific behavior was that they wanted Emma to do? By using words or signs. Step 5 is add a criterion for demonstration the child has acquired the skill. We will know she can do this when she uses 3 different words or signs. Very often for communication goals, we use a frequency, that is a number of words or signs or what have you. That frequency is often the acquisition criterion for communication goals. Step 6, that should just say step 6, add another criterion for generalization across routines. So in this instance, we would say at 2 times of the day, meals, play, dinner preparation, or outside. Even though 4 routines were identified, maybe in 6 months from now, that's a lot to expect for Emma. So the team decided at 2 times of the day, and they repeat the routines that were targeted for intervention and also for assessment and progress monitoring. Step 7, ask over what amount of time. And so this could be on 4 consecutive days to ensure that the skill really is maintained. That's why it's called a maintenance criterion. So the whole outcome becomes Emma will participate in meals, a better way of saying this would be mealtime, playtime, dinner preparation time, and outside time by using words or signs. We will know she can do this when she uses 3 different words or signs at 2 times of the day: meal times, play times, dinner preparation time, outside time, on 4 consecutive days. That is a participation-based goal. Now, I talked a little bit about the acquisition criteria, and there are essentially 4 of them. One is how long a child should do something, and that's very often, so it's expressed in minutes, for 10 minutes, for example. And this is often used for any kind of engagement goal, where for the child to spend time participating would be measured in duration. Distance for mobility, crawling or walking, for example. Volume, we mean volume as in amount. So that would be for eating and drinking, a certain number of fluid ounces, or in Poland that would be milliliters, or grams for food. Frequency is the number of times that something happens, and this is very common for communication goals, as I said earlier. The goal functionality scale is included in your packet of readings for this class, and you will see that the 7 steps of the goal functionality scale 3 match the 7 steps of writing a functional participation-based goal. So the takeaways for this class are that writing participation-based goals is oddly fun. I really like spending time doing that because you know that the family chose the goals, they came from the context of everyday family life, and our challenge is to put the measurement criteria on there that then get proposed to the family. You do get faster with practice. It takes me maybe 20 seconds to write a participation-based goal now. But for beginners, it can take quite a bit longer. Remember the 4 kinds of acquisition criteria: distance, volume, frequency, and duration. And program for generalization. If we ever have a goal that is for one routine, we ask the family, is there another time of the day where this skill would be useful? Because if we can program for generalization, that means that the skill is more closely embedded in the child's repertoire of skills. Now let's talk about family goals. There are child-related family goals, such as Miriam will learn 20 signs by February the 1st. So there is a goal, a frequency goal here, the number of signs that she'll learn, but we also often put in a date by which the goal will be met. And so this goal is related to Miriam's child. That's why she's learning 20 signs, because the child is using sign language. Monica will have information about autism and sleep disorders by December 1st. So again, the goal is for her to have information related to her child. So it's a child-related family goal. Another one is Maria will take Pau to the otolaryngologist, that's the ear, nose, and throat doctor, by January the 1st. This is obviously because of a need that her child has. So these are child-related family goals. But there are other goals that are not directly related to the child at all. For example, Olivia will have information about enrolling in the university by February the 1st. Paula, will find new housing by March 1st. Rosa will have one evening for herself every 2 weeks for 6 months. And the reason we have these family goals is because of the 2-bucket principle. A parent can only fill her child's bucket to the extent that her bucket is full. So we understand that when parents are having their own needs met, it builds up their capacity to be able to meet their child's needs. So we consider these to be extremely relevant goals for early intervention, where we encourage families, make sure that they have information to meet their goals, and walk hand in hand with them as they proceed towards meeting their goals. I thought I would show you now a list of goals that came from an RBI, so you see the mixture of goals that typically occur when you conduct an RBI. Christine is the mother. Ride in the car without tantrum. So that is a child level goal, and the routine is in the car. Eat at table without jerking around. Spend longer time there appropriately, and this is at lunch and dinner time. So this is a child goal. It's an engagement goal. Recover from being upset, self-regulation, and this was needed at leaving the house time, playtime, and dinner preparation time. And this probably would be measured by duration, how quickly the child pulls herself together. Succeed in the classroom, stay engaged, follow directions. This is actually a hard one to make functional and measurable, because succeed in the classroom isn't specific enough, but we could write the goal around staying engaged or following directions. Child goal. Using a soft voice, this is a child goal. Playing with toys independently, that would probably be measured either by engagement, that would be the amount of time the child plays with toys independently, or the number of toys that the child plays with. But it's probably, what was probably relevant was duration. And I know that because dinner prep is in there, and that's usually an issue. At dinner preparation time, the parent usually wants the child to be able to play longer by him or herself. Family night every 2 weeks, that's a family level goal. For the child to eat without shoveling at lunch and dinner, child goal. Eat neatly, child goal. Eat in the regular chair, child goal. Unfortunately, in this example, almost everything has to do with meal times. Drink from an open cup without playing. Play and read without getting fixated. This child tended to get interested in one thing, and it was hard to make a transition from it. And then finally, to be in the bedroom without messing with things. This is where the child would go into his mother's room and interfere with her belongings, and she didn't like that. So that's an example. Not the best example, because a lot of them had to do with meal times, but you can see some of the variety of types of goals that come out of an RBI. So today we discussed the International Classification of Functioning, participation-based goals, and family goals. Your assignments for this class are as follows. The reading is towards a common language for functioning, disability, and health, ICF. Here is the link, and you will have it in the classroom, the Google Classroom. An article that we wrote about a training program to improve goals, also in the classroom. And finally, I would like you to look at that Goal Functionality Scale 3 that I showed you on the screen a little while ago. For the video, I found an interesting one because it's by Polish people at a conference of some kind about the ICF. Unfortunately, they're speaking in English, so all the advantages that would have accrued to you by having Polish speakers have disappeared. The reflection assignment in the discussion board, which will be posed as a question in the classroom, as usual, is to write a goal to promote a child's engagement in 3 routines, and you can choose what the goal is, what the skill is, and what routines they are. They can be related to the child's communication, movement, or play, or anything else that you can think of, but it has to be functional. And make sure it's measurable. Make sure the goal is measurable. So our usual 100-word rule does not apply to this assignment. You have to write the goal. But I would still like you, please, to respond to at least one fellow learner's goals, so we still have some interaction among students. Okay, that's it for this class, and I look forward to seeing your the goals that you turn in. Okay, goodbye.